The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Show you the way. Let me be your shining light. Keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try.
Hello, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. Today we have a very special guest who we think is one of our favorite, I do believe one of my favorites. To my right is John Dickmeyer.
Hello, Patty.
Hello. He's my co-host, of course. And to his right is Kevin Leininger.
Take a drink.
Kevin Leininger. Hello, sir. I'm sorry for goofing up here.
Hello, Patty.
My mouth was so dry. Well, we got tons of questions for you today. How about that?
Good. I'm ready.
That's good.
Are you ready for the first question?
Oh my
Fire
God.
away.
The first question I hesitate to ask, but what happened to the print edition of the News-Sentinel?
Well, it was about 7 or 8 months ago, and we didn't certainly make it any secret. Newspapers in general have been struggling with the internet. It's difficult to sell what you're giving away for free.
Yeah.
And so, we finally went mostly digital, although we are in the Journal-Gazette a page or two every day. So the News-Sentinel, contrary to popular rumor, has not gone away, hasn't gone out of business.
That's good.
We are still here after beginning in about 1830, still continuously publishing, just in a different format. So yes, by all means, we are still in print in a limited degree, and then even more than ever online.
Online. So
at newssentinel.com, if I can get a free plug-in.
Oh, good.
If I can get a free plug-in, Fort Wayne's first newspaper.
Yes, it was, I think the Sentinel was first, and the News combined.
Combined.
And then in the 50s, they came up with a joint operating agreement with the Journal-Gazette, which is what put them in the same building. People think they're one paper, even more so now that they're in one print edition, but they are in fact two completely distinct papers, different staffs. We don't control what they print, they don't control what we print.
Well, what do you normally write about in the News-Sentinel?
Well, what I do is I write a column 3 times a week, an opinion piece. They are normally in print,
right,
along with a limited amount of other things I do. One of the things I don't like is that much of my best work is never in print.
Yeah.
My hard news reporting, all the stories
online.
I break. I will break a story online, and then it'll be in the Journal-Gazette the next morning, and they wouldn't know about it if not for the story I had. And so everybody thinks, oh, what a great story in the Journal, when in fact it was a News-Sentinel story. But if you don't look at the web page, you might not know that. So our challenge is to get more people to go online. They are convinced that is where the future is. What the challenge has been up to now is no one has really figured out a way to make a lot of money online. So the newsprint product is dwindling, even though that still provides most of our revenue. And they're trying to get more readership online without really figuring out the business model yet. So hopefully that will happen, because yes, if you want good journalism, you have to pay for it somehow.
You have to,
people, journalists need to eat, and if you can't make a decent living in journalism, people with talent and ambition will go into something else, and ultimately that will hurt the public, because they won't know what's going on, and especially what their government is doing, which is why we have the First Amendment to begin with.
So when you go out and get some news, Does it come to you, or you go to them, or both?
Oh, I get news from all different sources.
Ticker tape?
A lot of it does come to me. I mean, I've been doing this in Fort Wayne now for 39 years.
39.
People know me. I think most people I deal with know I'll get the story right and do it accurately, and so they come to me.
Yeah, we trust
But
you.
a lot of it is simple observation.
Right.
You know, I see something happening around me. I think, what about that? I'll look into it. One of the things that frustrates me about most reporters in town is that they wait for things to happen
And then,
before they report it.
Yeah.
You know, any fool can look out the window and tell you if it's raining.
Right.
What I try to do is get the story before it happens,
yes,
or to report it first.
right.
And it isn't as difficult as it might sound. We have public record laws, we have public meeting laws, so they have to tell you in advance what's going to be happening at City Council tonight,
Oh,
for
yeah.
example. So I'll look at the agenda a couple of days before the meeting and decide, well, there's something there I want to write about. Why should I wait for after the meeting to report it? Everybody else in town will do that. I'll do the story before the meeting, and then I either don't have to go at all, which I enjoy not having to go to a meeting, or I'll write about it that much afterward, and I'm on to the next story while everybody else in town is playing catch up. And that's frankly how I like it.
Are you the editor?
No, I am not an editor, never wanted to be an editor.
So you
I
had
don't
to-
want to be in charge of anyone but myself.
So you're your own. You do your own.
I do pretty much my own thing, and to their credit,
Yeah.
they leave me alone as long as I do my job.
Freelance?
I don't do much freelancing. Maybe when I'm ready to kind of retire from the
Yeah.
daily grind, I'll do that if I want to keep my hand in it. But I have written a few things over the years, but frankly, I'm keeping quite busy with what I'm doing, and when I'm not doing it, writing another news story is probably the last thing I want to do in my spare time.
Do you have people write or phone you saying, this is what's happening, and
Sure, and I'm always happy to hear from people who have an idea for me.
letters to?
Letters, not as many written letters as we used to.
Yeah.
More electronically by email. And again, that's like the newspaper business in general. The print is going away, the electronic is growing, and
What about the older folks who do not have computers?
number
That's a
one, a
good
lot of the older
question.
folks do have computers.
They do. Well, I'm
But
old.
those who don't, they're the people still buying the paper.
That's right.
And they're very
is good.
a valuable customer.
Yes.
And I've always said, since they're actually the people paying for what I do, I feel a special obligation to people buying the newspaper.
So now that you are more digital and you do print, is the newspaper more expensive, or is it the same amount? Or
Well, I'm not in the management side of things, so
Yeah.
I can't really tell you.
Yeah,
But
okay.
logic would dictate that we've combined two into one, with some downsizing in staff, but
Oh,
also
wow.
you don't print two newspapers anymore.
you
So
merge.
you're saving money on the production.
How many people are working for News-Sentinel?
Oh, I think we've got about 9 or 10 total now.
How many were before?
I couldn't tell you, but it was much larger than that back in the days when,
Print.
before the internet came along. We were the, at one point, second largest newspaper in Indiana, behind only the Indianapolis Star.
So you dealt with the stories and that, but you never used the old-fashioned key to print?
Oh, you mean the linotype?
Yeah.
No, the linotype went away before I started. Although
Oh.
when I started at the paper, they did still have a few tucked in the back room.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we have a computer problem, I always wish they could bring that back, because I
Right.
think in a way they were more reliable.
I think you should
But
keep them.
when I started, my first job was in Valparaiso, but we were still on manual typewriters there.
Nice.
And when I got to the News-Sentinel, I was on an electric typewriter. And they did have computers for the copy editors. But we still wrote our stories on paper. sent them in a pneumatic tube like you get at the bank drive-in,
Suck it up.
take it to the scanner, they would scan it into the computer system where it would be edited. But when we won the Pulitzer Prize in 1982, all our stories were written that way.
Congratulations.
On paper. Yeah, well, thank you. A long time ago, so I'm still waiting for another one.
So you worked for the Vidette Messenger.
I did. That was my first job out of college, yeah.
And you'd never guess why I know about the Vidette Messenger.
No, tell me. I'm curious.
Except that I'm a Valpo graduate.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But an interesting newspaper.
Well, it was. It was owned at the time by a little old lady, Mrs. Anderson, I believe, very much like Helene Follinger, who owned the News-Sentinel at the time. So it was funny that you had kind of the same ownership, family-owned paper. Now they've since sold out, I think, to the Hammond Times, or Northeast Indiana Times, I believe they call them now. So it's not even the Vidette Messenger anymore. I think it's the Vidette Times. But yeah, Valparaiso was and is a great town. I enjoyed it a lot. And it's really changed a lot since I left, as has Fort Wayne, since I came back.
I used to work as a typesetter for a newspaper back in Ontario, Canada. So.
Yep, typesetters are a thing of the past. Like so many other
Remember
things.
those VIPs, the tickers, the punch holes?
Yeah, the newsroom used to be loud and noisy, and now
And the
it's
computer would be about as
quiet.
big as the whole room.
Yeah.
I remember that now. So where'd you go to school to learn all this?
I went to, New Haven High School, was editor of the paper there,
Right.
which is where I learned I never wanted to be editor. And then I went to Ball State, got a degree in journalism, and, that was it. I was from Fort Wayne, so I went to where I had to go to get a job out of college.
Right.
And as soon as I could, I came back here, and have been here ever since.
History.
It helps to know the town that you're reporting. I mean, if you're new to a town, as I was in Valparaiso, it takes a while to get to know the people and the history of the town and just how things work.
There's a lot of research.
Sure, and you make mistakes that
Boy, do I make
you
mistakes.
wouldn't make if you had the institutional knowledge that I have, being from Fort Wayne.
So when you're first starting out, did you do a lot of bloopers, or did you just...
Oh, I made a few. I mean, I still make a few.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that's
hear you.
human. Sometimes people give you the wrong information. Sometimes you get careless and misread something.
Instead
And
of
all you can do is, when you do that, is correct it,
Right.
which we do. No reporter who's ever been worth, their salt has ever not had a correction. And
Yeah,
sometime the more difficult stories you do, obviously, the easier it is to make a mistake. And I like to think I do difficult stories to get to and report. And the danger is, there's a lot of information in there. And every now and then, our standard is to be perfect.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'm not perfect.
So
And I'm constantly reminded of that.
are you? You took grammar and English and
Oh, sure, history.
history, and
Yeah.
do you go out on remote interviews?
Well,
or-
sure. I mean, I like to get out of the newsroom, and to really do a good job of reporting a story, you have to be where the news is happening.
Right. Right.
I do a fair amount of reporting by phone. Sometimes I'll report from a simple press release, but the big stories, I like to talk to people face to face, look them in the eye, try to figure out if they're telling me the truth or not.
You can read them.
I try, yeah. Get a feel for whether they're being frank with me, and if sometime I get a vibe, it just doesn't feel quite right,
Doesn't
then
jive.
maybe I don't do the story at all.
Or do you use just your writing shorthand? Or do
Yeah,
you-
I take my notes longhand and
Longhand.
abbreviate accordingly and kind of edit my notes as I go along. I don't write things down I don't
how
think I'll
about
need later.
talking into
Very
tape
seldom
recorder.
do I record anything.
So
It takes longer. I see a lot of the young reporters today, just taking notes that way. I don't think that's a good way to do things. I think they have to go back.
That's cheating.
And
really.
no, it's not cheating. I mean,
Not
you
really.
get your
Sorry.
quotes perfect, but you have to go back and listen to the whole thing when you're writing your story. All I have to do is go back and read my notes that are already edited. I don't have to go through and decide what I want to keep and what I don't. So I can write a story much quicker than most any reporter
Well, you've been at
out
it.
there. I've been at it a long time, but I also know ahead of time what I want to put in my story because I've already kind of written it, not only in my head but in my notebook.
Who's your editor at your?
Well, now our editor is Brad Salick, who is, when we were still in print, he designed the newspaper.
Ah.
And today he's more of kind of the web master.
Web
He doesn't do a lot of writing. He's more in charge of the technical side of putting out a web page.
So he does edit what you writers do.
He does some copy editing, and we have other people who kind of fill in.
Grammar.
Part of the problem is we have no more full-time copy editor, which I don't like. I mean, it helps to have another set of eyes on what you write. We have spell check, which is no substitute. Although I had a teacher tell me one time they didn't have to teach spelling anymore because they have spell check, and I knew right away what was wrong with that school. Yeah,
We are in trouble.
Problem with spell check, I think, is that you don't get the grammar.
yeah, and you can spell the wrong word correctly, and it won't tell you that either.
Or you can use the wrong word.
Right.
And absolutely the wrong word, and that'll get you into
It will
trouble
have
too.
a different meaning than what you're trying to say.
Absolutely.
I was just wondering, some of the topics that are in the news right now that you have written about, let's talk about one or two that...
Yeah, downtown redevelopment is always a big topic, especially with electric works out there right now. $220 million project, and they want $65 million in local public dollars. So that is controversial.
gonna
A lot of
get that?
people don't think we should spend that much. Other people do think it'll be good for the community. I haven't taken a real stand on it one way or the other yet. I'm kind of evaluating how things turn out, and maybe one day I will, maybe one day I won't. In the meantime, I'm trying to be a watchdog of how the decision is made, how the money is being spent, are people being honest.
It's good to know.
Yeah, and I think doing that is what the journalism profession should be all about. As a columnist, I'm paid to have an opinion. As a reporter, I'm paid not to have an opinion, but to be objective. So depending on which job I'm doing at a given moment, will determine
So you
how
have
I
to meet
approach
the
a
middle,
story. Yeah.
so to speak. What about, do you ever get stories about the homeless? People are saying the stuff's bringing them all in money-wise.
I've written about the homeless a few times, and I have to tell you, I'm not a bleeding heart when it comes to the homeless. I don't know quite why we have the problem we do, other than there's a lot of drugs out there, a lot of mental illness,
Opiates.
and quite frankly, I think the majority of people, and even the mayor has said, a lot of people choose to be homeless.
Yeah, I kind of wonder why.
People who don't ever spend their time downtown or among homeless people or poor people, they can't fathom that. Limousine liberals who think they're doing a good deed by showing up at the rescue mission one day a year and dishing out turkey. There really are people who, for them, being homeless is an acceptable lifestyle. And they don't want to live with the rules at the rescue mission, for example, where you have to be clean and sober. So they would prefer to live under a bridge and go to the soup kitchen or bum money on the street until it gets cold enough, and then they'll show up at the rescue mission, which I think shows you that it is a choice.
And it is a choice. I spent a whole lot of my time working for the Allen County Public Library in this facility.
You see a lot of them hanging out in here in the daytime.
Absolutely. And most of them had made some sort of choice. Now, I don't know if they all made the choice to be homeless, but they made a choice in their life that got them to where they are.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't help the people who can't help themselves. We should.
Right.
But we shouldn't make lack of effort so
Well, some people
comfortable that people are willing to live at that very basic level.
Some-
I think you need a little tough love sometimes.
Yeah, but some other people lose their jobs,
Mm-hmm.
physically have problems.
Sure.
Can't do their job, so they wind up homeless. They couldn't pay.
Although right now, anybody who doesn't have a job doesn't want one, or they have some other impediment
there are jobs
preventing
here.
it.
Yeah,
But
there are jobs plenty here in Fort Wayne.
yep,
Patty, it's the difference between relief and welfare. And I think everybody agrees on relief. It's permanent welfare for a person that may be the issue.
well, and at some point, that permanent welfare becomes an enabling act. You know, you're not really helping them. It's like a drug. You're keeping them addicted. It'll be very interesting when the new rescue mission opens. There's a lot of speculation.
Oh, really?
Will it help?
Yeah.
I mean, they claim they're going to do all these new programs to help the mentally ill, for example, get off the street. Others say, no, all it will do is attract even more homeless to town, and you may have more people walking the streets of downtown Fort Wayne begging for money than we do now. And how that will all coexist
No one knows.
with the riverfront development and all the other things going on
and with
is
the-
a very interesting dilemma we'll have to pay attention to.
Yeah, we have to work with each other, not against each
Well,
other.
there is, you know, as I'm speaking only as for myself, but as a Christian, we do have a duty to the
To help.
poor, a duty to help them, but that doesn't always mean just giving them money so they go away.
No, it's like teaching them how to fish
Right,
instead of giving them fish.
correct.
You mentioned riverfront development. What is your take on riverfront development?
Well, great in concept. I mean, it's a little premature to know. It's only now under construction, phase one. I think right now, and I've written about it, it's going to be a really nice park. Unfortunately, we don't need another downtown park.
Right.
We
Not
already
enough.
have
You got
several, including a very nice one along the river called Headwaters Park. So what I really want to see, and I think needs to happen if it's going to be deemed a success, is all the public money going in now will begin to generate private investment. You know, you'll see the restaurants, the shops. We have had a little bit of that already with the big Riverview project announced over near the jail several months ago. That was about $60 million with apartments and shops and all that, which is really a riverfront related project. And we're having other things slowly happen. You know, Halls is moving a building that was on the riverfront over to Superior Street, and that'll be a very nice new downtown restaurant.
Oh, I like that.
So we need to have more of that,
Yes, we
because if
do.
all we get is more green space, I don't think it'll be money well spent. But I'm
Not too many
optimistic.
people will be downtown, and if there's no restaurants or
Right, you need something to do while
department
you're on the river.
stores.
And I think they
bookstores.
realize that.
The millennials, they're moving away or coming too.
Well, I think, from what I can tell, they, let me put it this way, they're making a very big push to make sure they do come here.
Right.
We still have some out-migration, but I think that will change. You know, the whole point of the riverfront and Electric Works and downtown and all the cool stuff people are wanting to do is to bring, not only bring millennials in and bring them back if they moved away, but maybe even more important, to keep them here.
To encourage
To
them
keep
to
them
stay.
here.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, the experts tell us, don't move to a town now for a job. They pick out a town they want to live in because of all the amenities that it has,
Right.
and then they worry about looking for work. I'm not completely sold on that. I think it's both. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
have some kind of income
Yeah.
to enjoy all those cool things, unless you
True.
can live in mom and dad's basement. But clearly, having a town that is attractive and desirable and vibrant is important, and not only for millennials, for everybody. I mean, I was born here. I remember when downtown was cool. I remember when it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
And I really am glad that it's becoming cool again.
Starting
and
to come
I'm hoping,
alive.
you know, while I'm still alive,
Yeah.
it'll be as interesting as it seems like it could be.
So the population.
I'll enjoy it in my wheelchair. Who knows?
Eh? Anyways, This is going on towards the end of the show, my dear. Thank you.
All good things must come to an end, right?
Oh, yes, that too shall pass. But thank you so much, Kevin.
My pleasure.
You did good.
Indeed.
You did
Well,
good.
so did you.
And we enjoy your company, and may we see you again
Well, you see me in print and online every day, so check it out.
on this show, and there's more important things coming out. We can chat about that as well.
Right. And the good thing about the news business is you never really know what's going to happen until it happens, and
Right.
every day is different.
No warning.
Nope. That's how I like it.
So this, John Dickmeyer, has been a wonderful interview with Kevin. Thank you so much. I'm going to shake your paw again. So,
Well, it's been a wonderful interview, and I agree with Patty. So there you go.
so this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page, wishing you a good week, and we'll see you next week, next Saturday and Sunday. God bless.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my